Fighting games are awesome. Plain and simple. There's just something about that one-on-one duel that just hits a specific itch that, to me, I think is really awesome. And to top it off, when you're in a fight and you pull off that clutch win, it just feels amazing. I personally can't think of any other game type out there that gives me that same feeling. Well, maybe Overwatch, but the odds of that happening are like 1 out of 1,000 because you have to deal with that stupid person who keeps picking Hanzo. But anyway, fighting games is something that I really enjoy, but I'm not really good at, so I kind of, appreciate it from a distance. Kind of like that girl I had a crush on in elementary school. Just appreciated her from a distance and didn't really talk. But back to the point. The only problem I have with fighting games is trying to sell playing a fighting game to my friends. And it got me thinking, why is it so hard for them, or anyone really, to try and play a fighting game? Depending on who you ask, you'll get different answers, like, it's only 2-player, it's not really fun, it requires a lot of skill, or probably the most common one, it's too hard. Which is fair enough. Have you guys fought Shao Kahn? Dude will kill you in 2 seconds. All of these are legitimate answers, but I want to focus on one that I haven't heard much on, and that is not enough content. To provide some background, on my Discord a while back with my friends, we were talking about our game of the year, as well as the most disappointing game we played that year. One of my friends said that his most disappointing game he played that year was, surprisingly, ARMS. As he says, and I quote, "I only got ARMS this year because I was a late Switch buyer, but its charm and appeal quickly wore off, and I was truly disappointed by how cool the game looked, but how little it held me." Close quote. We continued that thought for a bit, and made comparisons to Street Fighter V. When it came out, seeing as both games didn't have much to do on any spectrum. And that got me thinking for a while, and is honestly why I decided to make this video. I think the biggest problem fighting games have is just not enough content for new players. To provide some history, back in the heyday of fighting games in the arcade, you didn't need to have much content because games were designed to take your money. Like that stupid Crane game that had that Agretsuko doll that you really wanted, but cost too much and you didn't know how to work. So, much like old arcade games, fighting games just, they kind of had to focus on good gameplay and cool effects to keep the money rolling. Fast forward to a few years, and home consoles are taking off, and games had to change things up in order to keep the players playing, such as stories, multiple levels, and side quests, or just ramping up the difficulty to being almost impossible. Thank you, Battletoads. However, home console fighting games didn't need to change because they could still keep the solid gameplay, and people would buy it. And even content-wise, there wasn't an issue because even a long single-player game like A Link to the Past could be finished within 15 hours. But fast forward to now, things have changed. Going on with the whole Legend of Zelda theme, Breath of the Wild takes around 40 hours to beat, just doing the base story. And if you think that's kind of a fair jump from A Link to the Past to Breath of the Wild, since Breath of the Wild is a bit more open world, Skyward Sword takes around 38 hours just for the base game, which explains why I haven't beaten it since I first beat it. A lot of single-player games are becoming big open worlds that, much like a nice Greek gyro, are filled to bursting with content. But sadly, fighting games hasn't really moved on, and it's, kind of like a cheese pizza. Still good, but it doesn't have much on it. And that starts to become a problem when money is involved. The average price for a video game in America is $60. For people with a full-time job, that might mean nothing. That's a bit of pocket change. But for a poor college student like me, or anyone younger, $60 is a decent amount. Heck, I could use that money to buy a $200 textbook that the teacher will tell me I don't need when I get to class. When we spend our money on video games, we want our money's worth. I'm not going to be happy about spending $60 on a game I'll only play for a day or two, then get bored because I don't have anything else to do. Which was the situation with my friend and ARMS. And I'm assuming a lot of other people have had that feeling as well. Just look at the Steam reviews for Street Fighter V or Marvel Infinite, which is a shame because both those games are fun to play. They just aren't worth full price. I think in order to get new players into fighting games need to add more content for the average player, or in a sense, just stuff for them to do alone. I think one of the main reasons everyone loves games like Super Smash Bros. Is because it is a representation of that Greek gyro, just bursting with content. I keep making comparisons to food again, aren't I? But the question is, what kind of content? Personally, I think the content should be something that teaches the player the game as well as the mechanics of the game. I think the best example of a fighting game that teaches both these subjects is Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Both games have a lot of content that teaches you the basics of gameplay, and thankfully does it without holding your hand and calling you a little baby. Okay, Mortal Kombat would call you a little baby, but that's because it's Mortal Kombat. You got an in-depth tutorial that really shows the basics of the gameplay. Then you get a story mode, which is enjoyable to watch, but also makes you play a bunch of different characters. So by the end, you have a basic understanding of the cast, and you probably know who your main is. Then there's the challenge missions, which at times are a bit goofy, but they teach you specific things like commands or give you special requirements that require a specific type of gameplay. By the time you've done all of that, or even just the first two, tutorial and story mode, you should have a fair understanding of the game and know if you want to jump into online and really get into it, or if you're like me and you're just a casual, and maybe you just enjoy beating up some CPUs, then bam! Arcade mode. Have fun with that. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to Mortal Kombat. It's that simple. That's what I want when it comes to content in fighting games. Something for me as a player to want to keep playing. It's really hard as an average consumer to spend full price on a game with nothing to do. It's kind of iffy if that change will actually happen. Other games are taking up this idea and adding a story mode, like in Tekken 7 or Marvel Infinite. But honestly, those were pretty bad. But they were there, so A for effort, I guess. But only time will tell what will happen with fighting games. I honestly hope fighting games start becoming like those Greek gyros, though, just bursting with content. So much content that you just spill on your fancy European coat and you have to go to the dry cleaners to clean it. Dang it, I just can't stop thinking about food. Well, that's just kind of all I wanted to talk about today. If you're interested in trying to get into fighting games, but really aren't sure if you want to go for the whole online grind, then I suggest trying out the previously mentioned Mortal Kombat or Injustice series, as they got a lot of content if you just want to play a game. But if you want to play a fighting game that really explains how to play a fighting game really simply, then I suggest Skullgirls or Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator. Try saying that 3 times fast. Just because both of them have a really in-depth and easy to follow tutorials. And also, Skullgirls is way cheaper. If you really don't want to spend $60, get some of them Skullgirls, because you can't argue with $10 giving you the best bang for your buck. And it really does teach you fantastically. I hope this helps for any new people, and I hope you enjoyed my video and my ideas. What do you think is the curse of fighting games? I'm kind of interested to hear. Just, leave a comment down there in the comment section. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I am now going to grab some food so I can stop thinking about food analogies, and hopefully next video I can think of better analogies. I probably won't.